This is a new chapter for the Dodge Charger. Gone for now are the Hemi V8s that defined the Charger's ancient, gas-guzzling, beloved dinosaur era. In their place is a new age Charger lineup, featuring the choice between a high-powered electric powertrain and an inline-six gas engine. Dinosaurs are old and extinct, but they're also undeniably cool. The old Charger was too. And that leads to the question, can this new Charger emulate the old one's identity? Or can it make its own and succeed?
This is the 2026 Dodge Charger Scat Pack, the 550 horsepower Charger that trades the Hemi V8 for 6 cylinders. And I'm Alanis King. Dodge brought us out to Vermont to do some snow driving and drifting in these Chargers. And today, I want to ask, does this maintain the same muscle car identity as the last Charger? Or is it something entirely different? This is a completely new era for the Dodge Charger, and you have 3 main options for power right now. There is a 420 horsepower gas engine, a 550 horsepower gas engine, and a 670 horsepower all-electric powertrain. Now, all of these cars, all of these Chargers have all-wheel drive, and they all have a 0 to 60 time of less than 5 seconds, some a lot less than others. And these gas-powered Chargers, they have what Dodge calls the SixPack engine, but you might know it as the Hurricane. And this particular Scat Pack has a bunch of options on it, bringing its total price to $72,000 US. This 2026 Dodge Charger Scat Pack has a 3-liter twin-turbocharged inline-6 engine that makes 550 horsepower and 531 pound-feet of torque. That power goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission to all 4 wheels, and there is also a front axle disconnect system. Basically what happens here is the engine has to get to the wheels through some means that goes through the transmission, and then there's a transfer case. And what the transfer case does is it splits that power between the front and the rear axle. And when you have that front axle disconnect system, you can basically just unplug the front axle to make this a rear-wheel drive car, so that when you want, you have that rear-wheel drive silliness, and then you can plug it back in and you're all-wheel drive again. And the final assembly point on this vehicle is in Ontario, Canada, because this is domestic, not domesticated. But domestic is Canada, not America. Before we discuss the Charger 6-Pack and its identity, it's important to discuss why it's here. Dodge resurrected the Charger and the Challenger in the mid to late 2000s as part of this retro-modern renaissance among American muscle cars. They joined other vehicles like the Ford Mustang and the Chevy Camaro, and everything was big and boxy and retro again. The big identity moment for that Challenger and that Charger era was 2015, when Dodge brought out the high-powered Hellcat engine. The Hellcat debuted in a cloud of smoke on a drag strip in a Challenger SRT. SRT stands for Street and Racing Technology, and this Hellcat engine was a 6.2-liter supercharged V8 that made 707 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. Not only that, but Dodge gave you 2 keys, a black key that limits you to 500 horsepower for rainy situations or if you're just scared of the full 707, and a red key that unlocks the full power of the car. It was a big deal. The Hellcat engine was wildly popular, and Dodge's parent company, Stellantis, put it in everything. The Charger, the Challenger, the Durango, the Jeep Grand Cherokee, the Ram TRX. We should have gotten a Chrysler Pacifica Hellcat, but sadly we didn't. But this was a time of excess, and people loved it, and it really defined Dodge in the 2010s and the 2020s. But by the mid-2020s, the Dodge lineup was super old, like Bush administration old. Even when the Challenger was new around 2008, it traced its lineage back to the 1990s Mercedes-Benz E-Class. So Dodge took the Challenger and the Charger and combined their ethos into one nameplate, this new Charger. The first one that debuted was the fully electric version. Then came the gas engines that you're seeing right here. And at the beginning of the new era of this Charger, Dodge was all in on killing the Hemi V8. These days, though, they're bringing it back, and there are rumors that there may be a new Hemi Charger. But we're still not sure yet. It is now time for our brand new segment, Alanis' Tour to Interesting Features, and we're gonna start up front. Up front, you will see upside down, there is a little thing that says SixPack across this hood, kind of like a case of beer. We go down here and you'll notice that on that side, there are functioning front vents. On this side, these are closed off, which is so bizarre. And then in the middle here, you'll see something you'll be seeing a lot of on Dodge vehicles, this Fratzog logo. And when I say Fratzog, you might go, Alanis, Fratzog sounds so weird. What does that mean? Well, according to a Motor Trend story, it doesn't mean anything. Dodge just wanted something that sounded interesting. So they were like, Fratzog. No one's ever heard that before. Inside this Charger 6-pack, we also have a few interesting features. I will say I love the seat design in here. We also have these openings for a harness, but there's no harness bar and this is plastic. You would not want to put a harness through this seat, but it has the look and I do like the look. Down on the floor mats, I love the fact that we have these like 3-point star things because it reminds me of what? The 1990s Mercedes-Benz E-Class. And then up here, you'll see we have this funky shifter shape. This is called a pistol grip shifter. And we're really leaning into the beer and guns aspect of this car with the 6-pack and the pistol grip. Man, it's just a wonder that EV didn't work out as planned. In the back, we have the same seat patterns as we do up front, which is absolutely great. The headroom is questionable. I'm 5'8.5" and I am up here, but the legroom is absolutely great. We also have outboard seat heaters for both sides and 2 USB-C charging ports. And remember how we talked about these harness holes earlier? These aren't really harness holes. They're tickle holes. It's gonna be great if you have kids. Our final stop on the tour to interesting features is at the back. And while I do not see a spare tire back here, we do get a power liftgate, a tire inflator, and my favorite part of all, a funnel. If you run out of gas and you need to pour some in here, you got this. Or you can use it to look at the view. I think it's really important to discuss the ethos of this Charger, and one thing that really relates it back to the old ones that we love so much is the fact that you can get this in ridiculous paint colors. That paint color is called Bludicrous and it costs $695. I cannot get over the name. And also I got really lucky because I wore an all blue outfit with my hat and my shirt. And this shirt is from our partner Home Field Apparel. They have all kinds of officially licensed college sports apparel, some pro sports apparel, and racing apparel like these Indy 500 shirts. If you want to check them out, they are absolutely the best and they are at homefieldapparel.com. Thanks Homefield for supporting our channel. We have now made it to a segment I am super excited about today. How many Alanises can fit in this Dodge Charger Scat Pack's trunk? Now, I'm super excited about this because it's a hatch, and that makes it so much easier on me. While I get in the trunk, I love to talk about a vehicle's key, and this is the first vehicle key I've seen in a long time that I have gone, whoa, I actually really like that. It has a nice weight to it. It doesn't feel overly plasticky. And it also has this carbon fiber style weave behind the Dodge logo. Looks sick. Great job, Dodge. I am actually very impressed with the key. And that never, ever happens. So that's a huge win. Oh my gosh, there's so much space in here. I am stoked. I'm a little scared of this cargo cover though. So here we go. Come on down, come on down. Oh, let's go. It's always a little scary when a trunk is descending upon you, but there's so much space back here. This is a solid 1.75 Alanises. I'm very comfortable. People were hard on the new Charger when it debuted because at the time, Dodge was all in on killing the Hemi V8 and people loved the Hemi V8. This new Charger debuted, it was electric only at the time, and people missed what they had gotten used to. They missed this old dinosaur V8 that just felt like excess and fun. And when people don't like something on the surface, when they don't like the way something is going, they're more likely to not give it a chance instead of trying it out and seeing what they think. The reception, I feel like, has improved as things have gone along and the years have gone on, because Dodge introduced the 6-pack. Dodge introduced gas engines to this vehicle, and there are currently rumors that the Hemi may come back, which I think people would be stoked about. But this Charger, even if the Hemi does come back, is positioned so differently than the outgoing Charger and Challenger were, because today when we were doing our presentation on the cars, Dodge very much emphasized that this is positioned as a daily driver for kind of wherever you live. If you look around me, you see a bunch of snow. We are in Vermont. It is winter. And that's not often a place that you would think of a Dodge Charger or a Dodge Challenger, because you think of these things as being rear-wheel drive and wild and meant for climates where there's not snow or slippery roads or anything like that. But Dodge is changing that. They said today that the all-wheel drive is meant to make this more accessible for people no matter where they're at. And also, when I'm just driving this car and feeling the features in it, the seat heaters are super strong. The steering wheel heater is super strong. I can tell that this is actually meant for wider audiences, and you don't have to give up the joy of rear-wheel drive, because when you want to, you can just decouple the axles and have a rear-wheel drive car. We don't have a ton of time to drive this Charger right now, but just my initial impressions, this is quick. This is a fast car. It also has really good lane centering technology, and it has a capacitive wheel. So if you're on the highway and you're using lane centering in this vehicle, all you have to do is rest your hand on the wheel and it will know that you are paying attention, and that is absolutely fantastic. Now, while I love the accelerator pedal and I love the power in this car, the brake pedal suffers from what I remember the Challenger having back in the day. The brake pedal is very squishy and it's not a super rewarding feel. And I would want it to be stiffer in a car like this, in really any sports car or muscle car. When you feel a squishy brake pedal, it's kind of like, ugh. Interior-wise, in this Charger, the fit and finish is really good. I like the styling, I like the materials, I like the things I see around me. The only materials I really don't like are the paddles. They're like little plastic buttons on the steering wheel. And I just feel like if you're gonna have a sports car or a muscle car, you need to have some good paddles. They need to feel metally, they need to feel big. This is a tiny little button. It is so odd to have this right here. Relatively high seating position in this car. I am on the lowest possible setting, and something I like to do when I get in any car is take the seat all the way to the top setting, and quite literally, if I were to do that right now on camera, it would take too long, but my head would be so close to the ceiling. I don't understand why automakers don't allow seats to go lower, because the seating position isn't terrible in this car. However, relative to where the dashboard sits, everything is so low. I look down to see the steering wheel. I look down to see the infotainment screen. I look down to see the dashboard, and I just feel so tall. It feels like my knees are going to hit this steering wheel. I wish it went lower, and I really don't understand why it doesn't, but I like the shape of the steering wheel, even if it's a little tall. It's pretty big, but the shape is nice. You can just rest your hands right there. Overall, this is a decent interior. We have an optional carbon package in here, and I really like the carbon fiber trim that you see, and I like the fact that it has this backlighting on it, and you can light it up. It looks really cool. It looks like it has depth to it. The buttons under the infotainment screen, oddly enough, are a mixture between buttons and capacitive buttons. And if you know about capacitive buttons, basically a regular button is what you're used to. It's a button. And then a capacitive button is basically a touch screen. There's no tactile feedback. It's very difficult to use. These are like capacitive, but they give you this little buzz when you press on the button. So you kind of feel like your finger hooks to whatever button you're trying to use, which I think is helpful. I still wish they were normal buttons instead of this weirdo capacitive mix, but it's better than just being straight capacitive. I am overall a huge fan of 500-ish horsepower Chargers, Challengers, whatever muscle car Dodge is currently making. I have always been a fan of this because I can remember I have driven so many Hellcats in my life. And I remember the first time I got in a Scat Pack, I kind of didn't want to because I was so used to Hellcats. And I was like, oh, why would I want to downgrade my power? And then I got in the Scat Pack and I went, whoa, this is a really good middle point between the entry-level vehicle and the Hellcat. This is the right amount of power without feeling absolutely feral and out of control. Because the thing about Hellcats is I absolutely love them. But back in the day, if you had a rear-wheel drive Challenger Hellcat, you would put the power down, you would stomp the pedal, and that thing would wiggle, right? For most normal people, it's too much car, it's too much intensity, it's too feral. When you have an all-wheel drive 500-ish horsepower Charger, that is the sweet spot where someone can have fun, they can feel like they have a ton of power, and they're not just wiggling all over the place and feeling kind of sketchy. I think it is absolutely perfect. And I've been a real fan of Scat Packs ever since. So yes, I do hope we get a Hemi back. I do hope we get a Hellcat back. But I really, really, really like Scat Packs. Now, does this feel like a muscle car in the way the old Charger and Challenger did? To me right now, it doesn't. And I think that is because when this new Charger came out, it was designed as an EV, and it was an EV. So it looks futuristic, it looks EV-like. It doesn't look like it has that old school muscle car styling. And I don't think that's necessarily what Dodge is going for. However, so much of the client base for a car like this likes that old school muscle car styling, and I like it too. I like this, but it doesn't feel familiar. It doesn't exactly feel like the Charger or Challenger identities I'm used to, or like the Hellcat identities I'm used to. So I don't feel like it has the same street cred, both because of the engine, the fact that we currently don't have a Hellcat, and because of the styling. It's different. But can a new era be good? Yeah, it can. And I'm really interested to see how in the automotive market and in automotive culture, how this is received over the next 10 years or so, and what we think of it down the line, because I think that will be very fascinating because it's such a departure from the old car.
I miss the old Dodge Charger and Challenger a lot. Those cars were silly and wasteful and totally unnecessary, but that's also what made them special. So far, this new Charger feels more serious, but I think there's a lot of opportunity in the future.
I am a Dodge muscle car lover. Anytime I'm in a Hellcat or a Scat Pack, I go, yes, this is who I am and who I am meant to be. And I like this car too, but I think it has a decidedly different vibe from the last set of Challengers and Chargers. When you look at those cars, they're old and silly and goofy, and they're kind of dinosaurs, but you like them like that. This is a new car, and it was built as an EV first, so it has that new age EV look and feel and that seriousness to it. It lacks some of the personality that the old car had. And what I'm really interested to see is if one day we are lucky enough to see a V8 or a Hellcat motor in this vehicle, does that add to the silliness? Does it change the feel of it and make it feel more like an older Charger or Challenger? I don't know. I can't answer that right now. For now, though, this does lack some of the personality that I loved about the last car, and I'm super interested to see if we get some of that back in the future.